What is up, you guys? Wonderbro here. Today I want to talk about, and I might look a little tired and unenthusiastic. That is because I decided it would be a good idea to take a nap today. And everybody that's watching this video, round of applause to me for entirely fucking up my good sleep schedule. So anyway, today I want to talk about mind storms. I feel like there's a lot of people that still struggle with the mental aspect of acceptance. So you guys know my two main keys: live your life as if you're already healed, even though you feel anxious, and don't mentally get involved with the thoughts and the feelings. Don't tell yourself horror stories. Don't try to figure out the thoughts. Don't try to argue with the thoughts. But I want to elaborate a little bit on that today. I feel like, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, I feel like there's a ton of people that are still trying to look for that instant switch, that instant turn off. So what happens is, okay, people hear me, you know, this guy's saying don't mentally fight with your thoughts and feelings. So when those thoughts come and I catch myself ruminating about it, I need to shut it down, and that means the thoughts are just going to instantly go away. That is not true. I've said many times in my videos and streams that you are catching yourself ruminating, worrying, whatever you want to call it, which is when you get up there and try to argue and figure out those thoughts and get really invested in them. You are catching yourself doing that, and this goes hand in hand with the video I just made right before this one. If you haven't seen it, check it out. You are getting up there and catching yourself ruminating and worrying and saying to yourself, hey, you know what, just let this happen, just let my mind race. But here's the thing, they're following that with looking for that instant off switch. So they do that, they use the accepting inner voice, they say something to themselves like, hey, just let that happen, let that unfold. But then they're looking for it to go away, which is a huge problem, right? And that's why today I want to use the term mind storm, okay? Every storm will eventually run out of rain, right? But you can't accept the storm and then look for it to instantly run out of rain. That's a problem. So if your mind is going to race, you have to let it race, right? Which means you're going to continue to hear those thoughts in your head. You're going to continue to be aware of those thoughts. That's okay. Focus outward with living as normal, living as if you're already healed, and let that just happen in the background. The moment you start to fight with it and argue with it all, that's when you need to say, okay, wait a minute, no, I don't need to do that. I just need to let this mind storm happen. So the biggest point, you know, the biggest reason why I'm making this video is because I feel like people are attempting to use my keys. They're attempting to live their life as normal, and they are attempting to get up there mentally and not fight with their thoughts and feelings, but they're looking for that storm to instantly run out of rain, which just does not happen. They're not accepting the storm part of the equation. They're trying to use that accepting inner voice like a pill. They're trying to use that accepting inner voice like something that's just going to make the mind instantly stop storming, and that's just not how it happens. So I think if you're practicing that mental part where you're catching yourself fighting with those thoughts and feelings, you're using that accepting inner voice, if you don't also understand that the storm will still continue, your mind may still race even after you stop yourself from ruminating. Let's say you get a thought that says you're going to go crazy, or any thought, I don't care what it is, any intrusive thought, and you remind yourself, hey, you know what, it is what it is, just going to let that say whatever it wants to say. If you do that, great. But if you follow that up with an attitude of, that didn't work, that didn't help, because I'm still getting the thought about going crazy, it's still telling me, I can still hear a bunch of stuff in my head, that's a horrible attitude. It's not going to work. It's not the practice, right? What it needs to look like is if you start to ruminate, so you're getting a bunch of thoughts that are hammering away, you can hear them very loud in your head, and you tell yourself something like, okay, you know, I gotta just let that play out, as you know, it is what it is. Great, okay? But after that, after you have kind of stopped yourself from ruminating and told yourself, hey, I'm just gonna let that play out, you have to adopt an attitude of, okay, that's not going to make it instantly go away. I can probably still hear those thoughts hammering away. That's fine. I'll take the hammering thoughts right with me while I continue living my life, and I'll let that storm happen. So you're kind of labeling it. That's the accepting inner voice. You're kind of saying to yourself, hey, there's that mind storm. My mind is racing. That's okay. I'm going to let it race. See, that ending right there is so important. I'm going to let it race, which means if I continue to hear it in my head really loud, that is fine. That is okay. It's going to make me very uncomfortable. It's not going to be fun, but it's okay if the mind storm is still happening even after I catch myself ruminating and worrying. It's okay if those thoughts keep hammering away. You can't do anything about those thoughts hammering away. You can't do anything about the mind deciding to have a mind storm. You just have to ride the storm out. So I hope everyone sees what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to get this point across. Using that accepting inner voice is not like a pill. Using that accepting inner voice is not like saying to yourself, okay, just let that happen, and then, oh, because I can still hear the thoughts, or because the thoughts are still super loud, I did something wrong and I'm not doing it right. You may, throughout your day, many times have to catch yourself adding a bunch of negativity to your thoughts and feelings, and have to say something like, you know what? Nah, it's just a storm. I got to let that storm happen. You may have to do that many times throughout the day, right? I tell people all the time, you got to catch yourself ruminating many, many times throughout the day and worrying. But if you're not following that with, okay, just because I've caught myself getting really, into these and involved with these thoughts, doesn't mean that's going to make them go away. Congrats on catching myself and saying, hey, you know what? It's just, I got to let it happen. Congrats on doing that part. But you can't look for that to make the thoughts instantly quiet down or go away. You have to be okay with the fact that even after you catch yourself adding to it, trying to figure it out and problem solve it, you have to be okay with, after you catch that, the mind storm might still be going. And that's fine. It's part of the process. That is fine. So I feel like a lot of people make a mistake there. They are willing to try to catch themselves adding a bunch of negativity, trying to figure the thoughts out. Oh, will I go crazy? I don't know if I'll go crazy. How can I avoid that? They're willing to catch that part of it, but they're not willing to then follow that up by saying, okay, that's not going to be instant. The mind might keep storming, and that's okay. If I catch myself ruminating and adding to it, trying to figure it out and solve it, I'll jump in and I'll say, you know what, no, we're not going to do that. It's just a mind storm. Let that mind storm happen. They're willing to do that part, but they're not willing to then let the mind storm happen. They think that the catching it part should shut it down, and that's just not true. You're not going to get anywhere with that attitude. So continue to catch yourself adding a ton of second fear, which is, worry, rumination to those thoughts and feelings. But understand, it's okay if those thoughts and feelings still hang out. It's okay if they still hang out. Continue living as if you're already healed. And if there's a mind storm going on, that's fine. If you catch yourself starting to add to it and figure it out, say to yourself, hey, it's just a mind storm. Got to let that mind storm play out. Eventually my mind will clear up, right? The best way to clear up muddy water is to leave it alone. So you are catching yourself when you're adding a bunch of second fear, worry, and rumination, and you are shutting that part down. And you're saying, okay, no, we're not going to do that. It's just a mind storm. I'm going to let it happen. But that doesn't mean the mind storm itself is instantly going to go away. You have to remember, okay, I'm shutting down added worry and rumination and those bad habits, but the mind storm might still be going. It's just like if you accept a rapidly beating heart, which is an anxiety symptom. If you accept a rapidly beating heart, you don't look for the rapidly beating heart to instantly slow down. Same thing with the mind. It's all the same thing. If you've got a racing mind with a bunch of intrusive thoughts and you catch yourself adding a bunch of worry and rumination, you say, nope, it's just a racing mind. I need to let it race. That's okay. Just like with the rapidly beating heart, it's not going to instantly slow down. It's fine if it continues to hammer away and hang out a little bit. You're not adding second fear. You're just like, you know what? It sucks, but it's just a racing mind. It is what it is. I'm just going to continue to let it race while I go do this or while I go do that, right? So a lot of people understand what I'm saying, but they're not understanding the part where it's still going to race. They think that if they catch the worry and rumination, that should just slow the racing mind down right away. Then they get really frustrated and disappointed when that doesn't happen. Take away the frustration and disappointment by reminding yourself that it still might race, and that's okay. As long as you're not adding a bunch of trying to solve it and figure it out. What does this mean? What does that mean? As long as you're just saying, hey, it's a mind storm. I just got to let it storm. It's not going to be fun, but just got to let it storm out, right? That's the correct way, okay? So for many years, I've said things like, guys, you have to catch yourself when you're ruminating and adding all that worry. And a lot of people take that as me trying to say, oh, you can just make your mind instantly be quiet. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you catch yourself adding things like, oh my God, I don't like this, and oh my God, I can't handle this, and what does that thought mean, and what does this thought mean, and let me try to problem solve this. You catch yourself doing that, But then you also have to understand that that mind might continue to storm. The thoughts might continue to hammer away. That's okay. As long as you're not adding to it, it's fine. So trying to get that point across, right? Trying to get that point across today. Now, that sounds like bad news. Oh, he's saying, man, I got to figure out how to become okay with letting the mind storm. No, there's no figuring it out. You're just accepting that that's how it works. This is good news. If you've been trying to use that mental part of the advice and then looking for the mind to instantly quiet down, it's no wonder you're stressed and frustrated and think that you're doing something wrong. This is good news. Now you know you're doing fine. You've just got to accept that, when you're not adding second fear, that doesn't instantly mean that the mind storm is going to go away. It doesn't instantly mean that the racing mind, which is an anxiety symptom, is just going to quiet down, right? No, it may keep going, and that's okay. And now that you know that, you'll probably be you will be a lot less frustrated and stressed, because you're not looking for it to go away. You're just like, okay, I'm doing the work, which means if my mind races, it races. I can tell myself to let it race, let that mind storm happen. That feels a lot better than trying to make it instantly calm down or quiet down or go away. All right, you guys, so this is good news. This is good news. If you're making that realization, that is a good thing. All right, I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching today's video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Comment down below if you've made it this far into the video. Let me know how your day has been. Let me know what you've been up to, all right? Check me out on all my social media, Vacate Fear, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I got it all. If you're interested in one-on-one coaching, get up with me on any of those platforms. Toss me a DM. We'll talk about it. And until next time, as always, right there, stay awesome.